Good afternoon. It is noon and it is Thursday, and it is the second Thursday of the month. And here I am. Jen Taylor Consulting. I help you with your process of procedures, workflow, any unsexy part of your business. So today, I know kids are getting out of school, things are moving, things are opening up, you're wanting to go on vacation, or you just need to set some boundaries with your clients or your family or both. This is my favorite subject of all time because it helps you create more freedom and abundance in your life. So, setting boundaries and expectations, especially during the summer. One, look at and say, do I have any? That's the first thing. What are your best practices or your expectations with your clients? For me, when I have tailored events, or even now with Jen Taylor Consulting, my clients get a best practice / expectation sheet. And what it does and what it says is, here are my boundaries and here are my expectations, both of myself and of my client. So I'll give you the tailored events one because it's pretty in depth on what I talk about. So the topics are, when do you have meetings? How do you communicate? How do you meet with your clients? Any type of relationship with any outside professionals. So whether you're working websites, you've got a website designer, you've got accountants, things like that for weddings, vendors, photographers, caterers, all of that. What is that working relationship with your suppliers? Is the best way to put it. Final details. How do you close up a project? How do you open up a project? And then if there's anything I have for mine, day of. So it comes in this lovely sheet, and I will give you this so you can see what I talk about. But I'm going to go through these. So for meetings, I'd like to tell my clients it's all set up by appointment. I don't just set up a meeting, and they can't just set up a meeting. It has to be an appointment. All meetings were held at my office in Woodinville, unless it was designated outside of that. So whether we're doing a walkthrough at a venue, meeting with the caterer, all of that, we knew. But if it was just a planning meeting, it was going to be at my office. Because if not, I'm traveling all over the place. If you do meet other places with for your clients, do you have a set list, or is it just, hey, I'll meet you anywhere, and you're driving all over frickin' town? In Seattle, traffic's coming back, so it can be an hour to get from where I live to downtown Seattle. So I wanted to know if we were meeting somewhere else, where those places are at. If I had a friend who had certain Starbucks he met with his clients at. So if you couldn't meet at one of those Starbucks, you're kind of out of luck. He then opened an office, and it was a lot easier. But he had offices, he had Starbucks in each part of the city. So east side, downtown, north end, south end, west if he went over, if I'm in the Seattle area, west would be if he had to go over to the peninsula, that would probably be a meeting at a venue. But for the most part, he had Starbucks everywhere that he would meet at, and he had a list. So he would say, hey, we'd love to meet with you. Here's a list of Starbucks, you choose. So if you do that, then that's a great spot. If you have a co-working space, that's a great place to meet with your clients as well. So think about how you have your meetings. How do you communicate? Do you communicate whenever they talk, just like instantaneously? And you stop work to meet with them or to talk to them? Or do you have, working hours? Ours were 9 to 5. Right now they're 9 to 3 because my brain shuts off. What are your working hours? One, setting the expectations of when you're going to get back to them. I have within 24 hours and 48 hours on the weekend, unless it's super urgent, and I can make that decision. How do you communicate on the phone? Do you want a text? Do you want a Voxer? Do you want a Polo? Marco Polo? What are those things? Because you're going to have to set boundaries around this as well. just like now. So that's what that, those things are there. During the busy season, we had, we really set down our working hours because we're trying to get through stuff on, finishing the weekend, but then start a new wedding coming up the next weekend. So we told them, hey, if it's during the summer, we're really tight on our time. And how do you best communicate? I don't text. I don't text with my clients. If I do, it's a very quick and short and nothing to do with what we're working on. Shouldn't say that. Nothing that has to be a decision-making discussion. So I had a groom, all of a sudden he just started texting, and I did not, when I screw up is when they start doing things that are on my expectation sheets. So I had to finally say, stop it. I printed out all of those texts to put in his file. And I said, we cannot make these decisions via text. I have to have a paper trail, and you are not helping me with that. So what's the way you communicate? Maybe you do love text, and that's fine. So it's what you want, and how you want to be communicated to with your clients. For actual working relationships, what are the expectations around that? Do you have, what are the working hours? What are, if you have a certain client time, what is that? If you have a budget, things like that, we tell them, hey, it's up to you. We'll work on a budget, but if you go over the budget, we're going to let you know, but it's not our fault because you decided to spend money on this. Client relationship. So vendor client, you relationship. So your suppliers versus your clients and you. We would go, hey, here's what's going on. I'm getting blown up here. Turning that off. Sorry. What is going, here is your, here's your vendor list. Here's your suppliers. I said, you give them your suggestions, all of that, but then it's up to them to make that decision. You may make the introduction. You may say, hey, it's up to you. You talk to them. I'll be there to answer any questions or to be there in the conversation. But at the end of the day, they're signing the contract. I'm not signing the contract. So if they drag their feet and the supplier then gets another job and they're not able to work on your client, it is not your fault because it's their dragging their feet to not work with whatever is going on. That's more of a mindset issue, but it's like, I'm sorry. I told you multiple times that this was, because the supplier is going to come back to you going, hey, I thought this was a done deal. And you're like, I thought so. You reach out to your client. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. Well, it just keeps on going. You're like, I've given you multiple warnings that this could happen, and it did. Yeah, and it's like I just was going through this and going, yeah, they're not holding your date, they're not holding your project. They have other things to do. And for those who, for vendors, suppliers, clients that are asking for discounts, I say it's up to the supplier for that. I cannot promise any discounts because you're working with me, anything like that. So I try to give them fair warning that this is what's going on. And then as you close up the project, what are the expectations around closing up the project? Are you giving them, things that they can then work on themselves? Or are you just letting it, you're done? So what is the expectations of the deliverables and the closing down of the project? So those are kind of things that I have on my expectation sheets or best practice sheet. As I said, I'll throw it out there for you guys to have and to model after. Feel free to take and change what you want. So you're giving them, and this is for everything. It's not just for summer. This best practice sheet goes out with every client, and they get that. And sometimes you should have them sign it because it is a document that they need to follow. It is how you work. So that's kind of the first thing I do. So if you're going on vacation or, we've spent a year working from home and everybody's home, what's the expectations for summer? If you're still working from home and now your kids are home, not doing school, what is that? how do you set that up with your family? Do you put, I don't have any kids, so I can pretty much just leave everything open and come and go as I please in my office. But is there a rule that if the door is closed to mom's or dad's office, they are not allowed in unless they're like bleeding from the eye socket? I mean, that's pretty much what it is. What are those things? What are lunch schedules? What are your breaks? What are the things that you need to tell your family? Hey, here's the expectations around how I'm working. If you need to go somewhere, you need to let me know. If you're looking at teenagers and they may need a ride, I need to know these things. I can't just drop everything and take you somewhere. So set those expectations and let them know, here, this is what I expect when I'm working during the week. With your clients, same thing. There are certain days I'm not going to take client meetings, and those days and you can put that in your best practices. It's Tuesdays, Thursdays, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Whatever it is, I take Fridays off. I mean, these are the things that you need to let your clients know. Like, I work Monday, but I'm not doing any I am working on my own business on Mondays. Fridays, I'm off, dude, especially during the summer. I'm gone. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my client days. That's when I work. So those are things that they need to know for anything. So for summer, find out what their vacation plans are for your clients. What are their things? Because then they're going to set up their expectations and their boundaries. And so you're going to know, oh, I've got this client out of town for the month of August, or I've got this client out of town for the 4th of July weekend. Is there any projects that need to be done during that time that I might need them? Is there a way that we can either push back the project, push up the project, or just put the project on hold? Or just do what I need to do and not worry about getting input back from them when you're on vacation? What are those boundaries? I can tell you mine. They're not very good. I still check my emails. I still do some work. I'm getting better at it, but as I said, I don't have any kids, so I didn't have any expectations from them to go do things. My goal going on vacation is sitting by the pool and relaxing and listening to music and hanging out and trying to new restaurant, whatever it is. But I would check email in the morning because normally I'm going to Hawaii, so I'm 3 hours behind. So I'll check email in the morning, and then I'll check email in, when it's dark. So it's 9 o'clock here, or 8 o'clock. So I'm done with the day, and I can kind of go through and say, okay, what came through, and if I need to do anything, I'll do it. When my husband was alive and we'd go to Maui together, he would work because his job, he was a contractor and his company was in St. Louis. So now we're 5 hours behind them. So he would get up, do some work. 10 o'clock, he'd be done. It's 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. It's almost their quitting time there. It's 3 o'clock by the time he's just getting started or just finishing up his kind of, working thing. And then he would, again, he'd check it at night and see if there's anything going on that he missed the last 2 hours or so of the day. And if there was meetings, he would need to be there, things like that. And that was fine. And they knew that. And importantly, I knew that. So if you're going on vacation with your family, what's your expectations of your family? What do you want to do on vacation? And how do you want to work? And what's the rules around working? As a business owner, we feel like we need to work all the time. So what is that? And so setting those boundaries if you have to work, you can say, hey guys, I'm going to work between 6 and 8. And then after that, I'm done. And then when we get back and have dinner and all that, I might hop on the computer again, in the evening. So set those expectations so they know, so you're not always on the phone or all that. Like I would get phone calls when I was traveling and I would let them go to voicemail. I put an out of office on my email saying, I am gone. I'm checking emails a lot slower than I would at home. So if this is super important, reach out to this person. But if not, I will see it and I promise I'll get back to you. So those are the expectations around that. And setting those with your family and with your clients will make summer and any time much easier for everybody, because everybody kind of knows the playing. I mean, they know here's the play sheet. This is what's going to happen. So then for boundaries, you have to set them. Again, I always go back to the door. If you're bleeding out of the eye socket, then open the door. If you're not, and you have a, cut hand, cut finger, you know where the Band-Aids are. If they're old enough to do things themselves, they're old enough to do things that they don't need you there. If they come crying down the stairs and you're on a video call, of course, you have to get off the video call. But setting those boundaries with your kids and with your family, with your spouse, with your significant other, whoever, is important. The pivoting of my life is, eventually I'll have somebody back living with me. And what are those boundaries around that? Because he's not always working from home, but he has his own business. So what are those expectations and boundaries around that? I'm going to say my working hours are 9 to 3. End of story. And after that, we're fine. I'm going to be in my office. I could be on the couch, wherever I'm working. Those are my hours. I'll get up and have lunch. I'll get up and go for a walk. Do that. But for the most part, those are my working hours. I'm not going to go out and hit golf balls or do whatever. Go out for lunch. That may not happen. But I'm setting those expectations and those boundaries for the house because I'm working here. Then for your clients, those boundaries are the best practices. Again, we go back to this. These are your boundaries and expectations. They need to work on. They need to follow those. And if you don't follow that, then you're just opening the door for them to do whatever they want. So if you're sending emails at 8:00 at night, they're going to respond, and you're going to be up working until midnight, responding to their emails, working on them, because they're like, oh, you're up too. Great. Let's do some work. No. So, I really try to, if I send out an email that's work related, I definitely try to send it during working hours. And then if not, use that delay, use that, schedule email to go out, because it's going to be a lot easier. So it's really working on those things that you need to hold dear on, and for yourself as well. What are your expectations of yourself, and what are the boundaries you're setting for yourself? Whether that I am getting up at 6:00 in the morning and I'm working out and then showering, and then I start my work day, and my work day is like 8 to 9 is emails, and then the rest of the day is client stuff or my own business stuff, marketing, whatever you want to work on that day. Because if you set those boundaries and expectations for you, you're going to have a better working day instead of always trying to fight the fires that are coming in, because there's always going to be fires coming in, and it's up to us to say, okay, this is not the time to be working on this. I need to work on that. As I said, unless it's a super duper real fire for somebody that you don't need to worry about, because they're throwing their issues at you as a client, and you have to decide, is this really something that needs to be addressed today? Is, as if an accountant, if the taxes are due, then the taxes are due. But if it's something you're like, this can wait until later, whether that's tomorrow or later in that day, because their urgency is not your urgency. You have to decide when you think something is urgent on their end, because they may think so, and you're like, yeah, kind of is, but it's not really. It's really you asking me for whatever, and that can wait till later today. I mean, I'm in the process of, this background may change, and so I'm filling out paperwork and sending stuff. Sending an offer, those are urgent. I'm paying attention to those things. But if I'm getting a text from a friend or anything like that, I'm like, that can wait. I don't need to read it now. I don't need to answer that phone call. I don't need to do these things. Setting those expectations and boundaries for yourself is good, because you're always going to be running around. There's a friend of mine who's a planner, and she always takes Mondays off, no matter what, and that's her day. And she actually has that in her out of office on Monday. She puts that on every Monday. She is gone. She's not doing anything with work, and that's great. But as a friend, she was also working 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, that part. But that's the way she worked. So don't look at somebody else's expectations or somebody's hours and say, oh, I need to do that too. No. What's going to work for you? What is the best care for you? Because those are the things that are going to make you happier. If you're working, for me, there's no way I can be doing a client meeting at 7 o'clock at night, leaving. So, I mean, maybe 5 and you're leaving at 7, but there's people that have meetings at 8, and I know I'm done. So, I had meetings when I was in the best form of myself. So that was early afternoon, late morning. I can do a 5, I can probably do a 7, but I'm making sure I have my self-care in there. That 7 o'clock meeting, I can be okay and not feel like I'm about ready to take a nap. And then I didn't even get to the best part. What are your weekends like? As a wedding planner, when I was, a team of, 5 of us, that time, the weekends were hard, especially in the summer, because you couldn't meet with your other clients because you're getting other clients married. So we really said, if humanly possible, we are not doing, weekend meetings. If we had a weekend off and they were okay, we'd meet. But for the most part, I tried to make sure that my team was not running ragged when it came to, you've got a wedding, you don't need to have a meeting, you don't need to, it's only one of you. You need to make sure your time is set. So we told them, this is a weekend, if wedding weekend, no. If it's a not wedding weekend, maybe. In the winter, I really opened it up more. But I also tried to make sure I had my time with my husband, with my family, with my friends, all of that. So I said for the weekends during the winter time, off seasons, that we would meet. I would do a Saturday meeting and I would do a Sunday meeting. So they would have an option, and I do that twice a month. So one week was a Saturday, another week, a week later, or maybe it was even the next, could have been the same week. It was up to me. I made that schedule. I did not have my clients dictate when they needed to meet. These are my schedules. This is when I meet. And this is when having a calendar, an automated calendar, works really well, because you can send them the link and your calendar is already in there. Like, you have it dictated. These are client meeting days. These are new client meeting. These are, introductory calls or complimentary calls or getting to know you calls, whatever those are. Those can be, you can set the times and the days that you want to meet with them. Do those calls. So if you're like, Tuesday nights or Tuesday afternoons are really good for me to do potential client calls. So I schedule that and put it in there. And so when I sent them the link, they saw that. They may see a Thursday, but I dictated when they were going to call. Now, if I want to have client meetings, I would send them that link and they would see a different calendar that said, hey, here's some times. And it rotated throughout the month on whether I did a night meeting or morning meetings or weekend meetings, all of that. But they saw it. And then my calendar, as it got booked, they couldn't overbook that because there was already somebody there. So those are the things when setting your boundaries and expectations. Calendars are always the first thing to do, because then you're setting yourself up for, these are the days I work with my clients. And then the other days are the days I work for myself. For the summer, things to think about. What's your boundaries and expectations with your family? What's your boundaries and expectations for your clients? And ask your clients what theirs are for you. Because, as I said, summer's happening. People are going out. People are leaving to go on vacation. nobody's going to be home. I mean, come June 30th, if this place is open, everybody's going to be out. No one's going to want to do anything. So what are those expectations and boundaries? And find out from your clients and find out from your family. Like, sit down and say, okay, guys, this is, we're coming into summer. We've got, whether it's camps or things or work or whatever, we all need to sit down and figure out what are the expectations for all of us during the summer. Here are mine. You can write them on them, get one of those tear off big Post-it notes. Write it down. My office hours are this. These are the only ways you can come through that door. And things like that. So I hope that helped. As I said, I'll throw the best practice out there for you guys so you can have a template. And I would love to see some of your boundaries and expectations and go from there. So I will see you all next week. Bye.